I don't know if it's the type of music we play or like where we kind of started off. It was always a really intimate thing. Like, sometimes there were like 5 people at the shows, and it was in a place with no stage, like a basement, or I know we were talking about basement shows.
Kitchen.
But yeah, we played in a kitchen once, and it was just like there was no division between us and the people at the shows. We just happened to be playing the music, and things started like growing really fast, and it was just a series of adjustments, like getting used to playing above people, like on this weird stage.
Barricade.
And then like the barricade came in, and that was like another thing we had to figure out how to kind of transcend that. And I think we started to figure it out, but I think everyone at the show really helped us out by giving us like so much energy back. Like everyone sings along and gets into what's going on, and it's really fun. We're really lucky. And I think when we don't have that, it definitely, you can tell, like it definitely takes you out of the moment if people aren't kind of giving their voices back to you.
I think when you play a show with 5 people, you can have a moment with one person directly, and it's so completely direct. It's one-on-one. You know, it's like it's a real, you know, intimate human. It's a real intimate human moment, and then when you're with a big crowd, it's sort of like the whole thing changes. You know, instead of it being like close one-on-one connection, it is sort of more of like a group electricity, like an energy. And I think that it's sort of the equivalent of if you're watching a movie. You know, you can watch something that's epic, you know, like a big battle scene or something, or you can watch something that is, you know, a love scene just between 2 people, and it sort of has that same thing where you just adjust to this scale. You know, they're both really powerful things, but it's sort of also like it depends on what you're focusing on. You know what I mean? So I think it's a very similar thing. I don't think that necessarily either one of them is better. You know, you can't really qualify it that way. But I think that they're very different, and you do have to sort of like recognize what's good about both of them.
When you're playing a show that's really small like that, you kind of are just in it. You know, it's like you don't know when these kids can fall into you and fall into your drums, or like push Geoff into Tom, you know, which is kind of a really cool. It's kind of like it's right there in your face, so you have nowhere to go, and it doesn't matter if you screw up. You know, It's just like, who cares? These kids are like freaking out, and we're freaking out, and it's just like, it's just a cool thing. So I mean, it's just, you got to get it. It's a different realm when it's like this, but it's still, you can still appreciate it. You know what I mean?
It's totally surreal to have people traveling really far to come, you know, see something that we're making. Like, that's totally flattering.
It's really, it's like amazing, but you never, like, when they actually tell you, it's like really hard to know what to say, you know, like other than thank you, you know?
Yeah, I mean, kids have driven from, like, when we've played Texas, kids have driven like 10 or 12 hours from Mexico to come see us. I mean, it's one of the most flattering things, you know, that's ever happened to me.
For sure.
You know, it's just...
Those 2 young women in Canada, Japanese women from Canada, flew to Canada for their spring break from
When, the other day?
college, yeah.
Really?
And came to see us. Yeah, they flew to Canada to see us. There are parts sometimes when you feel overwhelmed, like, you know, you just think, you know, okay, this person, you know, correlates this song with this part of their life, and so it has this relationship in their eyes to you, you know, as well, that you actually had the effect on them and did this thing. And it's hard, because one thing that I always think is to take the responsibility of like being as good as your music, you know what I mean, being like as pure as music, you know, because music is just inherently, I think at least music is inherently sacred, and I don't mean that in relation to any religion or anything, it just has this beautiful singularity to it, you know, it never does anything wrong, like music can't do anything wrong. It is scary because there's always like that cycle where you go through and you just say, okay, I'm gonna open this door, like, is this wrong? Like, is this next thing wrong, or have I done something inadvertently that's compromised what I feel about music and how much I love music? But it's funny, like, this band is still so connected to my life that, like, I take things really personally, you know what I mean? Like, if I read somebody say, like, oh yeah, you know, like, I talked to Geoff and he's obviously changed, I just think, like, have I? Like, I've changed, you know what I mean? I haven't changed. and then I get like all like down on myself, you know, before I even like think, well, maybe they just said that because this, or they were having a bad day or whatever. Just automatically get down on myself and think like, what did I do, you know, like, because I really do feel like every kid that comes to our shows is like, it's like more like a friend that I would see somewhere than like, you know, like, oh, just a fan, you know, being bitter or something. Like, I would never think that. And even with our songs, like, if we get a bad review, I take it like, really? You hated that? But I loved that. Why did you hate that so much? I really just love this band and really love the culture that we've come from, the other bands that have like sort of led the way for us, and just music in general. It really is like completely a loving thing for us. It's never been like, how can we make money at it? How can we like fool people into thinking that we're a big band or this or that? Like, all that stuff is so trivial to me. Like, I just...
What's it like being on the bus with 5 guys? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5,
13. Sweaty.
13
guys.
Yeah. 13.
Tell me about that.
It smells really bad. We have to buy an air purifier. Everyone gets sick all the time. Tucker.
Right now, I'm really, really sick. I have strep throat, so I feel like a boy in a bubble who doesn't have a bubble, the bubble around it. Bubble, bubble.
As we wish he had a bubble around it.
Yeah, so I kind of been like walking around like,
Can you get this?
like yeah, can you grab that for me?
He's like, I want to. He comes in. He's like, I want a sandwich so bad, but I can't touch anything.
It's just his way of getting everybody to make stuff for him.
Yeah.
Wait on him. Yeah.
He's faking it.
I want to be the king of this castle, you know?
Yeah.
Me and Disco Sanchez, history-making team.
Why are you not able to touch anything?
Because he's germs.
Because
Yeah.
strep is like the biggest
Contagious.
The biggest
tornado.
one.
The
Yeah.
biggest one.
Spit too, that's great. That you could ever, you
Yeah,
know.
he won't touch anything, but he'll spit on it.
Yeah.
It's uncontrollable, though. So.
Yeah, you were spitting all over me the other night.
Was it?
Yeah,
I
that's
can't,
awesome.
I don't know.
But I think the bus is cool for, you know, if you need some private space, you at least have like a curtain that you can lay behind. You know,
Yeah.
that's about
Except
it.
the other night when you had 4 people in your boat.
Yeah, except for when 4 people jump in your bunk in the middle of the night, tell you
Yeah.
you deserve it.
It's
No,
usually a family show.
It's all relative. Like when we first got on the bus, it was like, oh my god, I can stand up while we're moving, and we don't have to drive, and you feel totally like a kid in a candy store, and you feel totally spoiled, and you have a healthy dose of punk rock guilt. And then you start to get used to it, and you take things for granted for sure. But I think ultimately, like, we're all totally psyched that we're on a tour bus. I don't think the novelty of being on a tour bus will ever fully wear off. It's totally
And we're kind of
cool.
we're kind of good at staying out of each other's way, you know. Kind of, we all like do different things on the bus. Like when it stops, I'm definitely the first one out and just wandering, you know, just so I don't have to be on there anymore. 'Cause I get cabin fever, so. I mean, everybody has their own little space that they go to and do, so it's kind of cool.
Back when it was pirates. Video
What?
games.
I mean, what do you
Player
guys
one and
do?
player two.
What do you guys do to pass the time? Like, what do each of you do? You say you have your own thing. What's your thing? Your thing is doing what?
Player
Wandering.
1, player 2.
Definitely-
I've read
definitely
a lot
wandering
on this tour.
Player 1, player 2.
I play video
Player
games
1 and
slightly
player
more
2.
than I read,
We
but
kick
I
ass
read.
at video games.
Guys, dude.
Yeah.
Tim and Tom do the video games. Steve is a maniac. He like never stops working. He does films and videos for everybody, and so he's always editing and stuff.
He's got a special hat with like a cell phone little compartment that just leaves it right here.
It's like
the
a
whole
beer
time.
helmet, but it's got cell
Yeah.
phones.
2 cell phones.
You sleep.
I think my biggest thing
I
is
read and sleep.
Andrew's my big toy, so I can play with Andrew.
That is
I thought your remote control car was your big toy.
Well, it's either Andrew or the
You should
remote
go
control
get your
car.
car.
And usually we do all 3 together.
All-
not in, you know, we're
The best thing was he got this remote control car for way too much money.
Awesome.
And the wheels kept flying off of it. Like within the first 5 minutes, they fell off like 4 times. And I was just, we were in the middle of nowhere. I forget where it was, but this huge gravel parking lot. And Tucker starts driving the car. They finally got the wheels glued on right.
You were so
And
like, this is
him
gonna
and-
be stupid.
Him and Andrew. Tucker's got this controller with this huge like 8-foot antenna, and the thing goes like 60 miles an hour. So I'm watching them like play with this thing, and I realize they're following it all around the parking lot, totally defeating the purpose of it being remote controlled, or like the idea of staying in one place. Like
That's because it kept stalling.
they walked like
Yeah, it's like
500
gasoline
yards
powered.
within 20 minutes.
You all loved it. You
Running
don't wanna
after
admit
it.
Steve the Big Brother's like, yeah, I used to do that. But now he won't even come play with it, even though he wants to. You go on the websites every night, and you're looking, well, how can I get one cheaper and cooler?